Today's question is simple. It's if I'm not feeling more peace or a sense of ease when I meditate, am I doing it wrong? So if I'm not feeling peace or a sense of ease when I meditate, am I doing it wrong? This is a simple question, but has so many possible answers. There's so many different things that you can experience when you meditate, because as I've said over and over in other videos, meditation is just the act of looking within, with intention. So you might look within and see really anything, anywhere you are, anything that you're holding, any emotion that is coming up in the moment, or as you look more deeply, anything that's repressed, anything that you're holding on to in your life, paradigms that you're holding on to in your life. All of those things start to present themselves in meditation. And if you're just starting to meditate, they may not present themselves very clearly. They're really not, there might not be much that you notice in the beginning. So if you're just starting meditation, let's start with that possibility. If you're just starting meditation, you're probably not so accustomed to observing what emotion, what energy you're engaged in throughout your day. You may be more accustomed to just living in whatever you're living in, acting out of the emotions that come up, doing the things that you think about doing, reflecting a little bit, but maybe not constantly looking into what is my experience right now. As you start to look inward, it's common that you might feel a little bit agitated, because there's maybe like a surface level of maybe anxiety or agitation that a lot of people live with, stress, you could call it. And maybe one of the first things that you'll notice when you start to meditate is, I'm stressed. If you're constantly engaged in activity, that can be a way of escaping that experience of tension that you may actually know that you have. That might not be so unconscious to you. So you might constantly, engage in activity, and it might make you feel better because it distracts you from that layer, that sort of surface layer of tension or stress. And when you stop and just look inward, it's much clearer that it's there. So that might be an experience that you have. That's not peaceful. It's stressful. Then another experience that people have is that they do feel relaxed. That's a common experience that I see for first-time meditators, is that they don't necessarily have any profound experience, anything that changes their paradigm at all. But they say, this is relaxing. This is nice. So in that sense, I think they do feel a sense of peace. It may not be profound or transformative for them, but it's nice. It's relaxing. As you continue to meditate, you just start to move into deeper layers of the psyche. So if you started to look within and you noticed that there was tension that maybe you were already half aware of in your day, and that wasn't so pleasant. And then you kept meditating a bit and you sort of got through that and you just felt, this is relaxing. Okay, that's nice. Then you continue to sit there and let yourself move into that relaxation. And eventually, as you continue to sit, more things start to come up. Not just that surface level of tension that you may be living with, but really anything else that is in your psyche. Anything else that's there that you're not seeing in your day-to-day, and that may only present itself in your life at certain times. So, you may not consider yourself an angry person. You may not, constantly be expressing anger, but there may be certain things in your life that trigger just this explosion of anger. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be motivating your behavior every day, but that anger is there. It's there in you. If when it comes up, when it does come up, you feel like there's just this cloud of anger and you're just totally in it, that's somewhere in your psyche. there's something that is, opening itself up each time that happens. And as you meditate, you're going to eventually come into, for example, that compartment. There are other compartments of the psyche, you could say, it's a way to describe it, that have all sorts of other energies and other repressed emotions and things that you're holding on to that, again, may only present themselves in your life at certain times. So whenever you open into one of these like fields of tension in yourself, it's definitely not a relaxing experience. If you're meditating, you're able to see that energy with a little bit more distance, so you're not so identified with it. It's like you're walking through a field of this energy rather than becoming this energy. So it's like you're kind of walking through an angry room in yourself. But walking through an angry room is not relaxing. So a lot of times in meditation, you're just feeling like, ugh, there's nothing happening here. It just feels bad. But as you continue to sit with that, I often think of it like being on an airplane and going through tension. There are times on the airplane where it's like, wow, it's so smooth, and you look out the windows and you can see everything and the clouds underneath and it's beautiful, and then suddenly you hit tension. And at least for me, because I do not like turbulence on an airplane, that experience of ease is gone in that moment, and I'm just going through turbulence, and it's kind of all that I can experience. And on an airplane, I do the same thing. I just sit and say, okay, well, this is temporary. One way or another, it's going to be over soon. That's pretty cynical, but it will be over soon. We'll get through this. And then you come back to, smooth sailing. So it's the same thing in meditation, that you will hit lots of pockets within where it's just, there's no peace there. Not that you can perceive, but the act of sitting with it and allowing it to be, and just observing, is itself a sort of fluidity that opens you more deeply into yourself. And at some point, that tension gives way to a deeper peace. So there's so many different levels and layers in meditation, and you can't categorize them because everybody's psyche is different. But there does tend to be an initial surface experience of maybe tension that you're semi-conscious of all the time, that you're just not running from in the moment when you start meditating, when you just sit with it. And then relaxation that's more superficial, and then gradually sort of deeper layers of dissatisfaction, discomfort, things that aren't so pleasant. Underlying all of those things is the self, is the awakened self, is the pure experience of consciousness itself. And that is deeply peaceful, and that is unconditional love and connectedness. It is enlightenment. So that experience is always peaceful in a profound and sort of explosive way. But there's so much that we have in our psyche covering over that basic experience of what we are, that the process of coming more deeply into that pure self-nature, that total self-nature, involves lots of discomfort and periods where it's like, this is not peaceful, That's totally normal. That's a very healthy meditation. It means that you're really moving through things and not just sort of escaping in meditation and, finding a nice imagined peace where you're spiritual and you don't have to deal with the world or deal with what's difficult. That's, a possibility too. People start to create like an escapist identity with spirituality very often. So it's a good sign if things aren't feeling good sometimes, or a lot of the time. Just keep sitting with it, allow things to be. And I recently made a video about Dogen, who is a significant figure in Japanese Zen 700 years ago. And he talks a lot about Zazen, which is his version of just sitting in Zen meditation, sitting and doing nothing, absolutely nothing, just sitting. And he talks a lot about how even when you can't perceive anything happening, the moment you sit in Zazen, which is, again, just doing nothing. We don't have to make a thing. You don't have to look up Zazen right now. You just sit and do nothing. The moment that you sit and do nothing, you open infinite worlds of, enlightenment. You're opening infinite depth in yourself, even if you can't perceive it. So it's true. There's something very profound that happens when you just sit and allow things to be that you may not perceive initially. Keep sitting with whatever arises. Keep sitting with that discomfort. And the peace and love open up as you allow each thing, each tension, all the turbulence to be. Don't worry about measuring your experience. Just allow yourself to come in to what you are, however that happens.